The black budget is a secretive group, basically a secret budget. It garners 1/4 of the gross national product, the entire gross national product of these United States. At present, the gross national product is around $5 trillion, so 1/4 of that's about $1.25 trillion per year. At least 1.023 trillion, and I say at least, is used in black budget programs like deep underground military bases. Presently, there are 129 deep underground military bases in these United States. Still, 68% of the U.S. military budget is directly or indirectly affected by the black budget. Star Wars, otherwise nicknamed Star Wars, Strategic Defense Initiative, relies heavily upon stealth weaponry. By the way, none of this would have been available without us taking apart with a fine-tooth comb crashed flying saucers that either we downed or they crashed themselves into our deserts. None. Budget from U.S. Congress 5-year plan that we're told about is $247.6 million. You couldn't buy the spare parts of all the black helicopters and the F-117As and the B-1, the B-2 bomber, and all the other 24, 25 prototypes. Couldn't even get the nuts and bolts for that. So we've been lied to, folks, and I know we can do better. Black budget garners this figure, roughly $1.25 trillion every 2 years. Trillion. I'm not talking billion, folks. Trillion. If you don't know what a trillion is, it's 1,000 billion. It's a big number. If you were to regard that in dollar bills, it would be 11 tons of dollar bills. That's how big a trillion is. Okay, the black budget literally means hidden budget. The U.S. Congress never sees the books of this clandestine pot of gold. Contractors of stealth, and I've listed quite a few here. UG&G, Westinghouse, McDonnell Douglas, Morrison Knudsen, Wackenhut Security Systems, Boeing Aerospace, Lorimar Aerospace, Aerospatiale of France, Mitsubishi of Japan, also Mitsubishi Heavy Electric Industries, Ryder Trucks, Bechtel, IG Farben, that's a chemical company, plus a host of hundreds more. Now, I've talked about a number of topics that are rather controversial. I'm not advocating the overthrow of any government. I don't believe in such. For the main reason, the number one, it always kills the wrong folks. But I believe if I have the chance to tell people about these atrocities, I think that there will be some serious letter writing, if not letter writing, some serious conscientious voting done in the very near future on various elected government officials, if not the whole category of elected government officials.
Now, the construction of S4 happened then after the construction of Groom Lake.
S4 followed Groom Lake, yes.
Okay, so describe what you know about the construction of S4, how that occurred.
Well, they started tunneling from Groom Lake back into the mountain for secure facilities. And they kept tunneling. Over the years, they kept tunneling till they came out the other end down there. And that's where they put the captured alien vehicles, but that's where our most secret aircraft were stored too, is right next to the captured vehicles up the tunnel towards Groom Lake.
There's 4 levels in Site 4, excluding the top level, the surface, which is basically a hangars with the satellite. There's really not too much to it, but the levels are all operated. There's the first and second levels are all elevator where they keep the flying disc, ships, whatever you want to call it. They bring it to the surface. Right when I was there, they were trying to operate the disc, but to my viewing, unsuccessfully. There's scientists there. I've personally witnessed White House officials being there.
Well, is there any reference to any of those dry lake beds?
No.
by name?
I didn't hear any. I mean, we were just, as I said, I was just being the sentry there. You didn't hear nothing.
Was it called S4 or A4?
S4.
S4.
We called it, I mean, it was called a museum.
So for you to actually leave base or get on base, they would take you down in a government vehicle and drop you off, what, in
At
Las
the
Vegas?
Tropicana Hotel.
The Tropicana. So that was the pickup and drop-off point.
At 12 o'clock on a Thursday evening. At the end of each month. If it fell on a Thursday, usually it was on the last Thursday of each month. Me and they would rotate. Every week they were taking somebody for their weekend of, they were rotating their sentries. Yes, they dropped us off at the Tropicana, on Tropicana Boulevard, right in the back. And they just dropped us off.
And you had to stay with your group of people?
No, we could venture off and do what we wanted to. Like I said, if you can get me in view of the facility itself or get me in the thing, I could recognize where I'm at and get on with it. Because I mean, we could see through the front windshield driving, but you just didn't. I mean, there was like a cover gate, like a boot in a camper, like a little gate, and then the guy could shut it and open it at any given time. Most of the time, it was open partially. You don't know where the hell we're going. I mean, my first thing I thought, that I was going to a secret Navy base myself, and then we got out, and that was it. My first visit.
But how long would you ride from you left from Nellis, did you?
Vegas.
From Vegas. How long would you ride from Vegas until you got to this facility?
Well, we'd ride to Nellis, and then Nellis we'd ride for about another hour, stop for about 20 minutes, ride for another half hour, stop, ride for another hour, stop for about 10, 20 minutes to relieve ourselves, which was in back of the van. Then the guy would come around and empty the thing. I think that they drove us around endlessly sometimes,
Because it was different times.
different times. Sometimes we'd be there in 4 hours, sometimes it'd be, 3 hours, sometimes it'd be 6 hours. It was, I mean, the security for the place for arriving and getting there is extremely strict. They don't.
So you couldn't sit down with a map and try to trace the route. It'd be impossible.
Yeah, I mean, even if you were sitting there, even if you're not allowed to have a pad and pencil in the van going there anyways. You're not allowed to, they take your watches, so you lose track of time.
I see.
I mean, you get your watches and jewelry back when you get onto the facility itself.
You're not allowed to carry a pen.
No.
So they didn't get to see the routes to and from as the transportation came and went. They weren't able to look out once they were in the bus. The facility, the doors were closed and then the windows were blacked out. Nobody could look in and they couldn't look out. Whack and Hut intelligence people controlled
The Area 51 area.
They were driven in by Whack and Hut and they were watched by Whack and Hut. They could leave the facility, but they couldn't. Nobody could leave alone. They had to leave together at least, and they were required to watch each other.
Has any employee of Whack and Hut ever come out and described being a guard and what their duties were around Area 51, Groom Lake, or S4?
Yeah, I don't know of any.
So they're able to keep those people fairly quiet compared to some of the military people.
The business they're in, I guess they're scared enough, so they keep quiet. They drove them all the way back to S4, and it drove into a covered facility where they were taken out and went right into the reception room for level 1, which is all they ever saw.
We didn't discuss nothing, absolutely nothing. I mean, it was how the football team's doing, and basic talk. We didn't ever discuss. We get picked up in the van, we took them to sit in there. Nice, comfortable ride. We get to the gate, and that's it. That's the way I always got there. I never personally drove there. I mean,
Was the gate an external gate? Was outside where the
yes,
van went through?
You drove through and went into this little overhang, like an inspection center.
Like a shelter. Oh, okay.
You get out,
Walk through a door and you're in.
thumbprint, and then once that passed, present identification, and they take you to the other gates and they take you into the infirmary room where, not the infirmary, but where the watch commander is, and they take us in and they individually polygraph us real quick. We had to sit in the room. We couldn't go anywhere to your cubicles or anything
Until after you'd been polygraphed.
After your polygraph, you went into another room. You never were told if you passed or whatever. If you passed, I assume you just went back to work.